Remind you that we are recording, but we do it on speaker view, and so your face will not be visible unless you speak, in which case it will be if anyone watches our slides on the web. Welcome, everyone. We're just letting everyone arrive a little bit before we start. Well, it's not even 7 quite by my watch. Let me look at my watch, my other watch. I think it is. I think we will start with our video for this evening.
So can I introduce that then?
We're going to do the video. Well, if you want to introduce it, go ahead, Kermit. That'll be.
Yeah, I was thinking it would be good to give a little bit of a context. So bear with me here while I rearrange my screen too. Yeah, most of you know me. My name's Kermit Hovey. I'm a longtime climate advocate and, among other things, currently 350 Madison board secretary and co-lead of 350 Madison's Community Climate Solutions team. As such, I think Earth Day founders Gaylord Nelson's words before the first Earth Day in 1970 that we're about to hear ring true now as then, if not even more so. He used terms and idioms of that time, but he did not speak of a narrow environmentalism, but of what we might now refer to as intersectional environmental justice. He recognized then the combined challenges for environmental, economic, and racial justice and equity. The work of caring for the environment then was not a one issue, one day affair. His words included these, quote, "Our goal is an environment of decency, quality, and mutual respect for all human beings and all other living creatures. Our goal is a decent environment in its broadest and deepest sense. And it is not a fleeting Earth Day or a single Earth Week or one Earth Month affair now. So let's listen and be inspired and encouraged by his words to continue our work to make every day, week, and month a time that we act to care for the Earth, our common home, and the climate we rely on to survive and thrive." Play it away.
It's tremendously encouraging to see all across this country the remarkable interest on the campuses and off the campuses on an issue which is not only just an issue of survival, but an issue of how we survive. I don't think there's any other issue viewed in its broadest sense which is as critical to mankind as the issue of the quality of the environment in which we live. You hear the word ecology. That's a big science, not a narrow one. It's a big concept, and it is concerned with all the ramifications of all the relationships of all living creatures to each other and their environment. It is concerned with the total ecosystem, not just how we dispose of tin cans, bottles, and our garbage. It is concerned with the habitat of marine creatures, animals, birds, and man. And our goal is not just an environment of clean air and water and scenic beauty while forgetting about the worst environments in America, in the ghettos, in the Appalachians, and elsewhere. Our goal is an environment of decency, quality, and mutual respect for all human beings and all other living creatures. An environment without ugliness, without ghettos, without poverty, without discrimination, without hunger, and without war. Our goal is a decent environment in its broadest and deepest sense. And winning the environmental war is a whole lot tougher challenge by far than any other challenge ever to confront mankind. We could terminate our involvement in Laos in 30 days, and it's my belief we should, and we could terminate our involvement in the killings in Vietnam in 120 days, and I think we should. But wish for it, work for it, fight for it, commit unlimited resources to it nevertheless. The battle to restore a proper relationship between man and his environment, between man and other living creatures, will require a long, sustained political, moral, ethical, and financial commitment far beyond any commitment ever made by any society in the history of man. Are we able? Yes. Are we willing? That's the unanswered question.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I know that Earth Day was last month, but we will be reflecting on Earth Day today. And so we thought we would start with that. Now, before we go further, I always ask us to put our feet on the ground and take 2 deep breaths. Breathing together and reflecting on our ties to this land we live on. So this photo is very near my house, 2 blocks away. It's looking out at an effigy mound in front of Lake Monona. And in the foreground is a memorial sculpture carved by Harry R. Whitehorse in tribute to the effigy mound builders. The sculpture was originally carved from a storm-damaged hackberry tree, and its title is "Let the Great Spirit Soar." And then as the tree weathered over time, it was done recast in brass. And I learned that Harry Whitehorse lived to age 90. He just died in 2017. He was a member of the Ho-Chunk Nation. And I think we all know that we are living on land that is traditional territory of the Ho-Chunk Nation. I just wanted to lift up Harry Whitehorse's work, which is known for its attention to wildlife and drawing on his Ho-Chunk heritage. With that land acknowledgement, I will now move to just preview what we're doing. We're going to start off asking just a moment to pause and reflect on what we did last month, either on Earth Day or any day in April for our planet Earth. Then we will move into a panel, the main event, the reason most of us are here, to hear about divestment on campus and beyond. At the very end of the evening, we will have updates and actions. And I think 8:10, somewhere in there, we'll have breakouts. So in our panel, we'll hear about 3 types of divestment: campus divestment, personal divestment, the Chase campaign. And then in the breakouts, you can talk one-on-one, well, not one-on-one, but more directly with the panelists to learn more about whichever form of divestment is of most interest. And we will, at the very end, I hope we have some newcomers tonight. The newcomers will be welcomed if they stay in the main room. So let's see the next slide. The question for you to answer is, what did you do on Earth Day or any other day in April? What did you do for planet Earth? Hoping to share that. And we're just going to randomly assign you in breakout rooms of 4 to 5 people each. And you have about 8 minutes or 2 minutes each. And then we'll have a little bit of sharing at the end. So Christina, when you're ready, I think you can send us all into breakout rooms.
All right, everyone should be good to go.
Probably you have to put it back on speaker view, because when you close, they'll all go to gallery again. Mine does, maybe yours doesn't. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had fun learning what somebody else did on Earth Day. and what you did. We'll wait till everyone comes back. Hope people don't get lost in space. We had more than 16 people when we started, when we went into rooms.
They'll all come back in a rush.
Right, it's great to see everyone coming back. As I said to those coming back early, I hope you had fun sort of getting to know somebody. This virtual has advantages and disadvantages. We don't get to chat with each other, and there you just got to chat with someone. I'd like to hear just a few minutes of what people did that was fun for Earth Day. And I feel like calling on Stephanie because I know she did the same thing I did, and I want to know how it went. Except you're muted.
Well, one of the things I really enjoyed was going to the Nelson Institute's Earth Day conference. They had great speakers and actually talked about the issue of divestment, which I hadn't heard them do before. I thought they really shifted their focus this year, which was exciting to see. Were you also suggesting I talk about our fundraiser, or is that coming later?
Yes, I was hoping you were going to, because I bought my pizza and I want to know what happened. Did we get lots of people buying pizza that night?
We did. It was very successful. And I did want to thank everyone who participated in Pizza for the Planet. And also everyone who made a contribution to 350 Madison for Earth Day. We raised close to $1,500, and which was really terrific. And of course, we can't do our critically important work. Our campaign teams and operational teams really rely on everyone's donations. So I just wanted to thank you for supporting our action and our advocacy.
Cool. Anyone else want to share something fun that they heard about or that they did on Earth Day? Just unmute yourself and chime in. So then I'm going to call on Carol Phelps, and we have a visual to go with her fun.
Yeah, well, it was really fun that our family got to be in Earth Day EV parade this year. This is the second time we've done it. Last year, I just spontaneously got together a few people because it was the middle of lockdown and we couldn't do anything else. And then apparently one person liked it enough that about a month ago, they got in touch with me and said, oh, you're doing a parade again this year. And so I said, I guess so. But this year we had like 57 vehicles, including some people from 350 Madison, some people from the city. So go ahead and just show the pictures. So we had some really cool cars, like this copper colored one with the wing windows. We had games for the kids. Channel 3015 came and interviewed us. We had some vehicles from the city. We had some of the new vehicles, Volkswagen and the Ford Mustang Mach-E, and we had some hybrids. So we hope everybody else either can come out and watch next year, or maybe by then you'll have your own EVs and you can come join the parade too.
Cool, cool. Thank you, Carol. And thanks for sending in the photos. I just think there are advantages to being on Zoom, and one is we can share our photos well with each other. Okay, now we're going to turn to our main event after all these good appetizers. Tonight's topic is divestment on campus and beyond. And I'm wearing two hats as I lead this. I am your 350 Madison monthly meeting team lead. I'm also a very active, pretty active member of our divest and defund team. So I'm really excited to be sharing some of what our team is doing and what's going on in divestment. So we're going to have three topics: campus divestment, and I think Maddie is here. She's a third-year student attending UW Eau Claire, and she is serving on the Student Office of Sustainability Executive Board as the UW Divestment Coalition intern. We'll hear from Molly McGuire, who is a junior at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point studying natural resources planning, and she co-founded this exciting group, the UW Divestment Coalition, in March of 2020, and now serves as team coordinator. I don't think Mark's gonna be able to join us because of internet problems. He's a lecturer, but if he he's a lecturer in the School of Education at UW Madison. And we're excited that CJ Cup is gonna be able to join us. She's a UW student, and I was in a small group with her, a few randomly assigned to her, and I learned she's graduating on Saturday. And she helped organize for Earth Day. She helped organize a march where like 200 people showed up a week ago. So a woman who is a go-getter, and I got to know her 2 years ago when she joined us in occupying Chase Bank. For personal divestment, it's going to be great to hear from Steve Lewis, who has joined 350 maybe about a year, within the last year or so, and has been talking to us about let's do more on personal divestment. So he'll have more to say about that. And then for the Chase campaign, I think we'll primarily hear from Judy Stadler, who's a longtime activist with 350 Madison. And in our early days of working on campus divestment, she had an in as being an alumna, where a lot of us were community members. So she had a lot of credibility when she met with the UW Foundation. And she also, like CJ, she was involved in occupying a Chase Bank back in pre-COVID times. And Seth Jensen, who's on a bus, wearing a mask as one would on a bus, may be able to chime in a little bit. He is the team lead of 350 Madison's Divest and Defund team. And actually, and he's been tireless in training the rest of us in civil disobedience, working with us to develop our narrative story and our action arc, and urging us to find creative ways to put pressure on Chase Bank. And he helped us decide to work on the Chase campaign. So the way we're going to proceed, and you can take the slide down, is I'm going to ask some questions as moderator of the teams, and then there'll be time for Q&A from the audience. So if you have questions as people go, you can put them in the chat, and Kelly will be helping me collect them, and we'll feed them to the speakers at the end. We usually have more questions than we can answer, so we'll have those special breakouts so that you can go to the speaker you most want to hear more from. Let's start with the students. Molly, I think you have a slide to show us, telling us, just in case, I think everyone knows, but what is divestment?
Sure. Yeah, I'll just share my slide real quick. All right. Yeah, let's do a little presentation. So hello, everyone. I am Molly, as you thankfully introduced me. I'm a student at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point, and I co-founded a student group system-wide that focuses on university divestment. So, but basically divestment in the overall broad scope. When we talk about that, we're talking about first our investments. So this can be an individual entity like myself or a family member, or they could be organizations such as universities or religious groups or charitable foundations, really any entity that makes an investment, right? And so you make the investment, you want your money to grow, which is awesome. But sadly, a lot of times when we aren't specifically aware of what we're investing in specifically, we are investing in fossil fuel related companies. And so I'm sure we're all aware of why we don't want to be investing in fossil fuel related companies to allow them to continue what they're doing. A lot of these groups will be unintentionally investing thousands or millions of dollars in fossil fuels. So when we talk about divestment, it's basically just pulling your funds out of these fossil fuel related companies. Most people typically follow what's called the 200 carbon carbon list. And so it's a list of 200 companies that are related to publicly owned coal, gas, reserve owners. And then they basically just rank them every year about who has the most or who's the largest, basically. And so we divest our funds from fossil fuels, but a lot of the groups also want to take it a little bit further than that, and they will specifically reinvest in green mutual funds or just different types of sustainable investments, rather than just allowing it to be what it is. So in terms of divestment campaigns in the past, these have been pretty successful for divesting from the South African apartheid. That was a big student movement, as well as the tobacco industry. Also, to give you an idea of the fossil fuel divestment campaign, it got started, I think it was like, I should have looked this up, but I think it's 2011 by Bill McKibben, so founder of 350. So it's very much in our roots to be doing divestment, very natural for us, I would think. But then also, I did just look this one up. As of 2020, 1,200 institutions possessed $14 trillion divested from the fossil fuel industry. So this is a really big movement that's just growing year after year, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Thank you, Molly. Yes, Bill McKibben came here. I think it was November 2012. Who here was anyone, does anyone remember being at yeah, I see Marilee raising your hand and Judy. Yeah, hearing Bill McKibben. He did the Do the Math tour, and he certainly came to 350 Madison. Let me ask, I'll go around. Let me ask Steve, what is personal divestment?
Kind of trailing off what Molly just said, the whole personal divestment, instead of pushing, some institution, some big organization, a big investment bank like JP Morgan or, UW Foundation, it's looking at your own money. Everybody, from their 30s on probably has some sort of retirement fund, an IRA or a 401k or something like that, or maybe a pension fund that's related to your work. And those funds you have control over, and they're invested. So it's deciding where those investments are going to be made with your own money, which I think is particularly cool that you have control over it. People forget about it because it's not something you think about. You don't need it for decades if you're young. And so it just sits there, but that money could be sitting in fossil fuels and you don't even know it. So
thank you, Steve. Thank you. I see Maddie has joined us. Maddie, did you want to add anything more about campus divestment? It looks like you're masked. I don't know if you can speak through the mask.
Yeah, can everyone hear me okay? All right, so apologies for my delayed appearance. I was just getting confirmed as the UW Eau Claire Student Office of Sustainability Director. Our Student Senate just passed a resolution that I helped draft in support of fossil fuel divestment in collaboration with the UW Divestment Coalition. So our student governments are very supportive of the move to divest from fossil fuels. They're very aware of the impacts that fossil fuel investments have on the earth and the people who live on it. So yeah, it's very well received by students. Students want divestment, and I think they're going to get it.
Thank you, Maddie. And I think, CJ, I told you I didn't think there'd be time to call you, but I think there is. Where are you, CJ? It's hard to see you on the screen, but do you want to say anything more about campus divest? How would you define campus divestment? What is that? What is the campaign trying to do?
So I've worked primarily with UW-Madison, but we've been trying to pressure the university's fiduciary to divest for a while now. I know 350 Madison's been working with UW-Madison for about a decade. So in the past year, our efforts have been organizing marches, publishing op-eds, drawing attention to the issue. And also more recently, we picked up a new strategy which is modeled after Fossil Fuel Divest Harvard's efforts, where we found this sort of obscure state law that regulates how exactly nonprofit institutions can invest their money. The general idea is that they cannot invest for the sole purpose of making as much profit as they can. They have to actually invest responsibly with respect to the future and consider the university's mission in their investments, which obviously fossil fuels do not. I think UW-Madison's mission statement even says something about like preserving the world for future generations. So what we're working on right now, and how you guys could get involved if you would like to, is we're filing a formal complaint with Wisconsin's Attorney General to try and hold the WFAA accountable for these investments. We're looking for individual and organizational signatures. If anyone's interested in signing on, I can drop the link in the chat. But yeah, the general idea is we're just hoping that the Attorney General will open an investigation into these investments and figure out whether or not they're actually following state law.
Cool. We'll continue circling around with things that you all can do. So you can put that in the chat now. We'll also come back to it later. So we've heard from campus divestment. We've heard from personal divestment. Judy, I know that Seth is on a bus and on a phone. So can you speak up and tell us what is the Chase campaign?
The Chase campaign is a specific effort to target the biggest bank financing fossil fuel projects, including the Enbridge pipelines that flow through Wisconsin from Superior down to Illinois to market. And our specific focus is on Chase and its CEO, Jamie Dimon, and all of the members of the board of directors of Chase, because they are the biggest funder of fossil fuel projects, whether it's coal or tar sands like Enbridge or petroleum, whatever, they're the biggest. And that's why we're targeting them.
Great, thank you, Judy. If it's not going to be too much whiplash, I'll go back to the campus. I think I'll ask, I can't remember who I'm supposed to ask. I'll just ask Molly. What excites you about campus divestment?
So what excites me, so I've been doing this campaign for a little over a year now, and I think what excites me is the fact that we have so many new students that are constantly being brought in. What's usually a tactic with these campaigns is the fact that like the universities like that we graduate, and then they kind of just get a few years of like no more ruffling the feathers until another student group shows up and is like, hey, divestment, right? And so then they're like, oh, we got to deal with these kids again, and then they graduate. So what's really cool this time is I'm very strategic about bringing in and transitioning in new students, and it's very important to train them and to give them the knowledge and the skills. And so I'm so excited to empower students and give them the ability to like say like, hey, you can stand up against these systems that we all disagree with. And you have this opportunity as a student to use your voice, because we're in a unique position where like they can't really get rid of us because we, pay a bunch of money to go to their universities. So yeah, I think that's the most exciting part about this campaign for me, is I really think it's going to last until we divest. I mean, our top research coordinator is a freshman in college, and he shows up to a bunch of meetings and he knows his stuff, and he's going to be around for 3 more years. And so that makes me really confident and excited.
Maddie, thank you. Maddie, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, so I second what Molly said exactly. And to add, I'm really excited about the collaboration that we've been able to support across the UW system schools, not just at each school separately. I think it really empowers students and makes us known across the system, and the UW Foundation knows that we're here and we aren't backing down until there's divestment. So having those student collaborations across all of the schools that we have representation at has been crucial.
Well, Steve, it's a hard act to follow those students, but what excites you about personal divestment?
What I really like the most is that it's low-hanging fruit and easy. So compared to like UW divestment, that we've been trying to do this since 2012 at least, right? Here we are 9 years later, yet to make any real progress. And it feels like we might be on the precipice of something big, but we've still been at it for 9 years. Whereas for me, talking to family members and friends, typically the type that are concerned about the climate, but they don't volunteer, they don't attend 350 meetings, they just don't spend a lot of time worrying about it, but it is something that they're aware of. And when I make the case to them, your 401k is sitting in oil and gas companies. That doesn't really make sense, does it? And like, oh yeah, you're right. I'd never really thought about that. But you make a great point. I'll talk to my financial advisor. And then, so in half an hour, I made a change. And granted, they don't have, $15 billion like UW Foundation does, but collectively, all of us have more than UW Foundation does. And so you can make that change, and then they talk to their friends, and it just feels so much easier because you don't have that institutional kind of weight.
Yeah, so it's also by having the three of you, it's like there's one of these is going to excite you. I think if you can choose all three of them at the same time if you're really Superman, Superwoman, but you can find something that interests you. Judy, what excites you about the Chase campaign?
What excites me about the Chase campaign is so many different tactics that are available to us. And over the 3 years that we've been going, I think, we've used a lot of them. We have done die-ins in front of Chase Bank. We have done chalk-ins. We have done digital takeovers of many different branches. We have done street theater where a lot of people got dressed up in silly costumes and just drew a lot of attention to the cause. We have done sit-ins specifically in 3 of our banks here. And I might call your attention to the one that CJ participated in, which I think was in November of 2019. And if you scroll through the archives of 350 Madison, you'll find a short video that she put together, which is a terrific story about what a sit-in is like and how it can engage people and make the bank people really mad. That's what I like about this campaign.
Thank you, Judy. So do you feel we're making headway? Any recent signs of movement? I think I'm gonna ask Maddie this question for the campus.
Yeah, so in addition to all of the resolutions that our student governments and now faculty senates have passed, we in the research team have been trying to get into contact with several foundation presidents, mostly to no avail, but recently we were able to meet with the president of the UW River Falls Foundation, and we were pleasantly surprised at how they've received divestment from fossil fuels. And it's partially thanks to their progressive money manager who recognizes the economic savviness of divesting now. But they have been unofficially working on divesting by not creating any new investments in fossil fuels. And I think they're starting the process of selling their current investments. So progress has been made, and in River Falls of all places. So we've got progress there. That's really exciting.
Thank you. That's really exciting news. I know when you told me that when we met to plan this, you'd just come back like the day before, and that was not what you were expecting when you went to meet with them. Steve, any signs of progress? We making headway?
Absolutely. So recently there's been a lot published about how you actually get better financial returns by not investing in fossil fuels, because they've underperformed on a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and 10-year basis. But the number of products that are available to you now compared to just a couple of years ago is so much better. You pay lower fees, you have more choices rather than just divesting in fossil fuels. You can specifically invest in climate positive companies, clean tech. There's just hundreds of choices now that didn't exist a couple of years ago. So that tells me that the market is shifting. People are seeing it and moving that way.
And I wanted to add for Mark Johnson, who had internet problems, he did say from a faculty staff perspective, we talked about this. It happened right before one of our meetings that UW-Madison, the faculty senate, voted overwhelmingly for fossil fuel divestment and clean procurement in early February. Then the academic staff assembly followed with another overwhelming vote in support shortly after. The students, led by ASM, I guess he assumes I know that acronym, voted in support of the divestment earlier in late 2020, and really the students have been leading throughout the campaign. So I wanted to hear that update. And from the Chase campaign, Judy, any headway?
Well, we think we made good progress last year. Part of our effort was to appeal to our state treasurer to vote her shares against Chase's lead independent director, who was Lee Raymond, the former CEO of Exxon, to express our concern about having such a person be a very important person on the board of Chase. They didn't take action at the annual meeting last year, but shortly following the annual meeting, Lee Raymond was removed from the Chase board. So I'd call that a success.
Yeah, so would I. So would I. So the question which, and I think I'm going to start with CJ, if you could just say again. So the question is, what can people do if they want to support? Let's start with campus divestment. And CJ, just say again what you have in the chat, this Google form. Can you tell me again what signing it would mean?
Yeah, so my student group, WSCAC, sorry, just climbing some stairs, was tagged recently in a post with a news update about the fossil fuel movement at Harvard and how they found an obscure state law in Massachusetts that regulated how nonprofit institutions could invest their money. And it turns out Wisconsin, as well as like 40 something other states, has the same state law. So our strategy was to work with the UW Divestment Coalition, my group, the Wisconsin Student Climate Action Coalition, and then the attorneys from the Climate Defense Project who had helped the Harvard students organize their complaint and put together something similar for Wisconsin.
CJ, I didn't mean to call on you. I'll let you breathe. I'll just say that even while CJ was talking, I did sign this. It's actually very easy to sign very quickly. But catch your breath, CJ.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, but so we're forming this complaint. We're looking for signatures right now from individuals, organizations, alumni, students, anybody. So by signing the link, you're not like agreeing to anything legally. You're not like bound in any way. It's just showing that you are supporting the State Attorney General opening an investigation into the WFAA's illegal fossil fuel investments.
The WF, spell that out, that acronym out.
It's the Wisconsin Foundation and Alumni Association. So this is something that commonly trips up people who start to get organized with divestment at UW-Madison. UW-Madison isn't the organization that is actually making these investments. There is a third-party private nonprofit, which is the Wisconsin Foundation and Alumni Association, that collects donations from alumni, invests them, and then gives the returns to UW-Madison. So this means UW-Madison can sort of wash its hands of it and say, we're not involved, like we don't have a choice or anything. You can't blame us, sort of passing the buck onto the WFAA. But by accepting the money, they're complicit in these investments and the ethicality of these investments. And the WFAA also is violating state law because it's investing for a nonprofit in something that goes against the mission of the nonprofit.
Thank you. Thank you for just saying it again. I just want everyone to know what action they can take. Any other action on campus divestment that we should be highlighting?
I can share some. So first I'll put in the chat the UW Divestment website. So this is specifically for the UW Divestment Coalition. And in there, you'll see we have options for signing our petition. We also have, you can also sign and endorse our campaign, especially if you're like an alumni or have some ties back to the university as like a faculty member, staff member. That's always really helpful. We definitely do accept donations as well on our website. Those are really helpful for, especially when COVID's not as prominent. We can have more in-person events, do protests, especially since we are system-wide. We'd really love to have some stuff where we can like join up together in Madison, which costs some gas money and some time and some resources. And so having the funding for that is always really helpful, especially like who knows if our universities are going to continue to pay for Zoom next year, which is really crucial for our campaign. But that would be my top ways. I don't know if I mentioned the petition. Other than that, do you have anything to add, Maddie?
I think just keeping up with where we're at in our campaign. Social media is a great way to do that. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, I believe we're on Twitter. So just give us a follow, keep up with what we're up to, and more actions will be available to participate in the future.
Thank you. So Steve, if people want to get involved with personal divestment, what would you advise?
Well, I'll share more in the breakout afterwards, obviously. But the basic idea is if you work with a financial advisor, talk to your financial advisor. When you have your annual meeting to discuss your goals or retirement plans or whatever, tell them. And they can usually make that change right away. If you manage your own investments, then I assume you're probably more financially savvy and can look up your own choices. But the main thing is if you have an advisor, just tell your advisor you want to do it, and remember that they have to do that because it's your money. And if they try to counsel you not to, then maybe it's time to find a new financial advisor.
Thanks. Judy, what can people do to support the Chase campaign?
Depends on what you're interested in. You can do all kinds of things with us. We have frequent ZAP actions, which are very short actions in front of various banks. And we have these digital takeovers periodically. We have letter writing to be done to boards of directors of Chase, etc. Specifically, what's coming up is the May 18th annual general meeting of Chase, which is when they do all of their business. And leading up to that is a National Day of Action, May 7th, which is this coming Friday. And our specific action here is at 4 p.m. on that day in front of the Chase Bank on the square. We will be standing with human billboards and whoever else shows up, making a statement about what Chase is doing to continue to finance the fossil fuel industry and the pipelines that carry the fossil fuels. Join us.
Thank you, Judy. And we did just make a Facebook post. A Facebook post is on the 350 Madison Facebook page. If you want to look at that up. Seth, are you trying to say something from the bus?
I did want to just add one more piece of signs of progress, where all this action leads. And that's to, mention that just a little over a year ago, after many actions all across the country and other tactics, Chase did actually cut back. They announced very publicly that they cut back on certain types of fossil fuel funding, like drilling in the Arctic. They pledged not to finance that anymore, and certain forms of coal, almost certainly in response to the pressure campaign. And not only that, when the bank did that, all these other major banks throughout the rest of the year came up with these copycat policies. So by changing Chase, this is a sign that it's not just changing them, but when they do these cutbacks to fossil fuel funding, it often has a ripple effect throughout the entire financial sector.
Thank you, Seth. Thanks for adding that. I guess I should ask if anyone has a question for our panel. We're about to go into breakouts. After we have a little bit of announcements where you can ask questions on a particular panel, but before we do that, any general questions? Or any panelists who wanted to make one last statement? I think we'll save it for the breakouts then, which will be great because then you can talk more. I know that Steve wants to talk about personal divestment and he has more to say than he could fit into the 1 minute segments I gave him. But before we do that, let me ask Christina to pull up the slides. Because there's a couple other things I want to do besides talk about divestment. As you know, we have many teams. We all do things by teams for the newcomers who may not know that. Our divest and defund team that right now is working very much in the Chase campaign, we would welcome anyone who wants to join us, not only at the breakout, but fourth Mondays. Our tar sands team, which is also fighting tar sands pipelines in different ways, meets on the first Mondays. And now I'm going to turn to an announcement from our Community Climate Solutions team. Next slide. Julia De Palma.
Hey everyone, my name is Julia De Palma. I am one of the 3 co-leads of the Community Climate Solutions team, along with Susan Millar and Kermit Hovey, who you heard from at the beginning of this meeting. I am so excited to announce that one of our members of the Community Climate Solutions team, her name is Noemi and her friend Cecily. They both have their own organization at Madison West High School called In Pursuit of Sunshine, and they are going to be featured in a new show on Devil's Advocate Radio 92.7 FM. And Susan and I are going to be guests on their very first episode. So again, that's going to be Fridays from 7 to 8 p.m. starting this Friday, May 7th, ending July 30th on Devil's Advocate Radio. Thank you guys so much.
I'm not familiar with Devil's Advocate Radio. That's at 92.7, it looks like. Cool. Next slide will tell you that if you want to know more about what the Community Climate Solutions team, known for short as CCST, does, you'd be welcome at any of their team meetings. And if you contact Susan Millar, she could connect you with their Zoom links and all. We also have a relatively new team, the State Policy Group. And if you're interested in joining them, contact Gail Nordheim, who I'm about to introduce for our final set of announcements. Yes, okay, Gail, here's your slides. Gail is the chair of our 350 Madison's Board of Directors.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and I hope everyone, I was really impressed with everything going on with divestment, and thank you to all the panelists tonight. I want to let everyone here know that we are seeking candidates for our board of directors. As you know, we have a board of directors, and then we have a coordinating council that has a representative of each of our teams. But the board of directors is relatively new. It started a year ago. And our board responsibilities are legal oversight, financial oversight, budgeting, setting the strategic direction for the organization, and fundraising and development. We have 7 members on our board. We could have, under our bylaws, we could have as many as 9. So we are recruiting for some additional board members. If you'd like to go to the next slide. It's a 1-year term, but you could serve multiple terms. And the election, the board meets once a month, the second Wednesday of the month from 7 to 9. And then there's additional time that's spent working on board committees and doing projects. And board members are expected to participate in fundraising. But it's a really good way to have some influence to really work on our strategic development and make sure that 350 Madison has the direction and the resources to succeed. So go to the next slide, please. So if you are potentially interested, we'll put in the chat a link that you could go to see the complete board position description, and feel free to share it with others as well. We we really would, we're really interested in people, particularly we'd love to have an attorney on the board, people with financial management background interest, people who are interested in fundraising, a variety of skills we're looking for. So if you read the position description and it looks interesting to you, then you would send, there's in that position description, there's the address to send your resume and a brief statement of interest. And then we'll get back to you and set up a discussion with our nominating committee. And the election, next slide, please. The election is June 7th. It will be part of the regular Monday night monthly meeting, but it's officially our annual meeting, that meeting, and we will have the election for the board of directors and the coordinating council. And to be eligible to vote, you must be a member of 350 Madison. And we're going to put another link in the chat that you could click to see if you are considered a member. To be a member, you need to have donated at least $5 in the last year, but the deadline for that was, our bylaws get very complicated. So if you've donated between June 1st, 2020 and April 24th, 2021, you're considered a member, and there are some other ways you could be considered a member too, by having attended 3 of these monthly meetings. Next slide, please. So, so that's the board, and I also just wanted to let you know that we are going to be recruiting, starting hopefully within the next month. We're going to be recruiting for an executive director. We have reached the point in terms of the size of our organization and the complexity and the number of things we're working on that our board concluded that we are relying too much on volunteer leadership, and we really would benefit from having an executive director. So this will be a 50% time position. The major responsibilities of that position would be just overall day-to-day management of 350 Madison, making sure that our strategic plan, our goals are achieved, supervising our staff, fundraising, financial management, community relations and outreach, and information management. And we hope to start recruiting in May with having someone start during the summer. So watch out for, keep an eye out for that too. We'll be following up more about that in the coming months. So thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Oh, and yeah, thank you for all you're doing. And it would be good to get an executive director to help lead the organization, although some people, including you, have been doing a lot to lead us quite well this far. But it's time to get not to overburden our volunteers. So we're now we're ending a little bit early this evening, or transitioning early. I mean, you have the option to leave and end, but we're hoping you'll stay for one of the breakout rooms. If you're a newcomer, you can just stay and do nothing. And then the main room will be a time for Emily. Emily Engel will be meeting with newcomers and helping you get to know 350 Madison and getting to know you. If you're not a newcomer, we'll hope that you'll want to go listen to one of our panelists, one of our groups of panelists. So what you do is you rename yourself, and the way you do that is you click on participants down below, and then when you see, you look for your name and you hover over it and you click more, and then you click rename. That's not the only way to do it, but that's the easiest. And when you rename yourself, if you put you just keep your name, but you put a 1, you know, 1 Sally Smith, if you want to go to campus divestment. So I hope that Maddie and Molly, Molly has already named herself 1 Molly McGuire. She follows directions very well. Personal divestment, I hope Steve has renamed himself 2 personal divestment. And all those that want to hear, Steve keeps saying how easy it is. And anyways, I keep questioning that, but I would like to be in this breakout group and find out more about 2 for personal divestment. And if you want to know more about the Chase campaign, including what we're doing on Friday, or any questions you have for us, type 3 and your name.
I'm doing personal.
Then I should do something different.
A few minutes to do. Why don't you take down the slides so I can,
would be good for you.
or leave them up so people can see how to do it. I guess I can look at the participant list and see if people are having troubles. Now, if you have troubles, you just stay in the main room and you check